And to trending now, a look at what's hot on social media. Joining this year again is Daisy Cousens, who runs her own successful video channel. She's also a contributor to the Spectator Australia. Daisy, great to see you again. What has been trending hot on social media today?
Well, Andrew, you'll be possibly pleased and happy to know that actually you were trending on Twitter this morning, having all the lefties in a little bit of a tizzy about your very interesting column that you wrote, which I thought was obviously very factual, and I didn't think it was at all controversial, about global warming and how excess carbon dioxide in the atmosphere can, of course, greenify the planet. I mean, that's just basic photosynthesis. But, Andrew, the way that these Twitter leftists were carrying on, you'd think you'd advocated for killing kittens or something. It was the most hysterical sort of fact-free reaction based totally on sort of climate hysteria,
Daisy,
like you committed some sort of thought crime.
How can you say that? I actually quoted global warming scientists themselves saying the planet was warming. How can that be evil?
Well, that's what I think, but what we have to remember about climate change alarmism is that this is the left wing's ultimate sacred cow. It is almost a religious fervour that they push their alarmist narrative with. No one is allowed to have any kind of different opinion, no matter how factually based it is, because any other kind of different opinion is considered wrong and immoral and detrimental to the children's future. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yes, you're doing your job well, though, when you have all those leftists in a tizzy, Andrew, and I thoroughly enjoyed your column.
Yeah, well, thank you, Daisy, but it's so depressing. You put your facts there and you think, well, the facts will change the argument. Clearly, from what you're saying, they don't. Facts do not count. Anyway, so if a warmer scientist says, oh, the planet's greening, that's okay. But if I say it, that's terrible. Oh, well, there you go. But I reckon my story would have been overtaken, unfortunately, by the death today of NBA basketball superstar Kobe Bryant, the LA Lakers star. 18 times an All-Star, one of the world's giants in basketball, killed with his daughter and 7 others when his helicopter crashed, apparently in thick fog. How huge has this news been on Twitter around the world, Daisy?
Well, Andrew, this has been absolutely massive for obvious reasons, aside from the fact that it's just an absolutely shocking accident. I mean, of all the ways you think you're going to go, a helicopter crash is about the last one you'd think of. It's such a kind of freak incident, but he was such a huge name in popular culture. I mean, I've never watched a basketball game in my entire life, and even I knew who Kobe Bryant was, and doubly sad by the fact his daughter was killed as well, and there were a lot of, big celebrity reactions to it, but I thought the loveliest one actually was from Donald Trump, and he posted this on Instagram, and I thought I had to read it to you. And he said, Kobe Bryant, despite being one of the truly great basketball players of all time, was just getting started in life. He loved his family so much and had such strong passion for the future. The loss of his beautiful daughter Gianna makes this moment even more devastating. Melania and I send our warmest condolences to Vanessa and the wonderful Bryant family. May God be with you all. And I thought that was a beautiful, very classy summation of the situation and a wonderful sentiment.
Yeah, I noticed that even in China, where they're doing obviously non-stop reports on the coronavirus there, because it's really, a big issue, they were breaking into them today with reports on the Kobe Bryant death. Even in China, this man was huge. I mean, it's going to have a real impact. 41 years old. It's just, boy, in the midst of life, unbelievable. But Daisy, to a language, should actually issue a language alert here. If you're offended by bad language, don't go to Channel 10's website. No, wait a minute. Don't watch now, because some bad language is coming your way. Daisy, during my break, I heard my old radio partner, Steve Price, issue what I thought was a totally unnecessary apology for calling New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern that woman when he was on Channel 10's The Project and said she shouldn't holiday in Australia. Here he's apologising.
Wanted to come on and apologise to Jacinda Ardern. Look, what I said was disrespectful of her as a woman.
Well, Price said he wasn't forced by Channel 10 to apologise, but, I'm a little suspicious, let me say. But here's the thing that I'm wondering. If Price must apologise for calling a woman that woman, What should another Channel 10 regular, columnist Clementine Ford, do now that she's called Corinne Barraclough, commentator, the C word, and Sky News presenter Rita Panahi and Conservative Miranda Devine, also the C word, and, by the way, calling them boy sucks? Why hasn't Ford apologised? Why do Channel 10 still have a regular columns for it?
Well, Andrew, what we can see here are two double standards at play. The first is the sort of identity politics zeitgeist going on, that straight white men are not allowed to have an opinion on anything except the weather. And given the reaction to your column this morning, Andrew, apparently that's even in contention because they are allegedly the oppressive class. So any criticism, no matter how mild, and what Steve Price said was very, very mild, that they level at a woman is somehow the grossest misogyny, and they're not allowed to do it because they're oppressing her, and oh goodness, it's terrible, which is very, very patronising to a woman as powerful and capable as Jacinda Ardern. I think she can somehow take being called that woman. The second double standard at play here is one that Clementine Ford and her feminist sisterhood push themselves, which is that if a feminist is being criticised on the internet or abused or bullied or anything, then that's an absolute no-no. But the minute it's a conservative woman, or indeed just a woman who disagrees with them, then it's open season and they're subject to every kind of misogynistic insult you can think of because they are somehow a bit of a gender traitor, so to speak. And that is not to say that feminists have to agree with all women or support all women. Of course they don't. Disagreement. No, but the thing is, Andrew, if you stake your entire career in empowering women to speak publicly and decrying online misogyny, you can't just then suddenly engage in online misogyny and the disempowering of women talking in public spaces when it suits you or when you find a woman you don't like. That is an absolute gross hypocrisy, but we see it time and time again from people like Clementine Ford and all her little trolls that populate the little Twitter sphere where she lives.
But Daisy, what also offends me is the use of the C word here. Now, it's interesting. Barry Humphries was saying that he tried to get the C word banned by comics when he was head of the Adelaide Festival or something, and there was a big uproar. He said, if you can't use the C word, then you're obviously not that funny, you know, if that's what your act relies on. And for me, this is what it's, you know, it's not like I've led such a sheltered life. I'm from the country and all that. I've used the C word, I've heard the C word quite often. But it's, what insults me is not that it's rude, but that it's used in a total absence of argument. It's like, you know, here's the user of the C word thinking, I'm so impressed by them saying C, you know, F or C or whatever, that their total absence of argument, you know, just go over me and I'll agree to whatever they're saying. That's the bit that I find really offensive.
Well, I completely agree with you. I mean, obviously, if you're having what you think to be an intellectual argument with someone, then all of a sudden they respond to a point you articulate well by calling you the C word or using it in some context. It's extremely disrespectful, and as you say, makes you feel like a fool, as if the only thing you'll respond to is being called that. But what you have to remember here, Andrew, is that if you are the type of person who thinks that levelling the C word at, or any kind of insult or profanity at anyone is a substitute for a thorough, well-reasoned, accurate, factual argument, then you have to be pretty stupid yourself. And these regressive leftists who employ this sort of offensive tactic, we also have to remember they are so sure that they are correct and that they have the moral high ground and that they are good people and that anyone else who disagrees with them is scum, then they feel they are justified in doing and saying anything and everything they want to everyone, because ultimately they are good people and to them the end justifies the means.
Yep, I think anyone using the C word in cases like this or in their act is just appealing to the moron vote and is a moron themselves. Daisy Cousens, thank you so much indeed for your time. I look so forward to talking to you through the year.
Thanks so much, Andrew. It's great to be back.